We are live. What's up, my friends? Abbie here. Welcome back to another Write With Me live stream. I'm so glad you could join me today. First things first, tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. Type in the chat, tell me where you're tuning in from, and tell me about your writing project. What are you working on today on this beautiful morning? Maybe it's not morning where you are. It's morning where I am. And I am really, really excited because all of the trees are starting to turn orange and yellow. And I love this time of season, this time of year, this season. Autumn is so cozy, so perfect for writing. And yeah, it's just really good mood, really good aesthetic. So type in the chat, tell me where you're tuning in from and what you're working on. I'd love to hear about it. And we're going to get started in just a few minutes. So if you're new here, the way these live streams are structured is we do 3 writing sprints, typically 25 minutes on with 5-minute breaks in between to chat about our stories. I answer any questions that come up in the chat, as many as I can. And then we get into our next writing sprint. And I'm going to set a timer here on my screen so you can see that, or you can set your own timer. And yeah, we just all write together. So if that sounds like something you would be into, stick around because that's what we're doing right now. Okay, I see writers joining from all over the world. So cool to see. Let's see, New York City, Poland, Canada, Maine, Montana, Florida, Germany. Awesome, so cool. Welcome, everyone. I saw a super chat come in from Sam I Am. Thank you so much for the super chat. And yeah, I agree 100%. I'm so glad we can come together in these fun, positive, lighthearted hobbies and just have that creative expression. It's so nurturing. It is really energizing, I find. Like when I don't have that writing time, I definitely feel the lack of it. I don't know about you guys, but it's so essential to stay creative. Okay, so who's ready to get into the first writing sprint? I'm going to go ahead and start a sprint in Discord as well. So if you are in my Discord community, you know that we do writing sprints in there a lot as well. If you're not in the Discord, you would definitely love it, especially if you love these live stream writing sprints. So definitely check that out. The link is below this video, below this live stream. When you join my Patreon at any level, you get access to the Discord. And there are over 1,000 writers in there, sprinting, sharing their work, encouraging each other. It's such an amazing community. So I'm going to go ahead and start a sprint in Discord. If you're there, feel free to join there. Otherwise, just stay here on the live stream. And I'm going to set my timer. I got to put my do not disturb on so that I don't get any notifications when we're trying to write. But I have started working on a chapter yesterday. I'm actually working on a new project, which I'm very excited about. And let's see, I have I have 30,000 words of it already. I didn't realize I'd gotten that far. This project has kind of run away with me. Top secret for now, but I'll share more about it in the future. And so far in this chapter, I have 1,500 words. So I'm going to join that. Okay, so if you guys are ready, let's get into it. I'm going to start my timer and set up my alarm so that you can know when to stop. Okay, 25 minutes. Let's go. Okay, sprint number 1 is done. Great job, guys. You should be super proud of the progress you're making, even if you feel like you haven't quite gotten to the flow yet, or you didn't write as many words as you wanted to on that sprint. It's all good. The point is to show up for your creativity and to get yourself in that headspace. So if you want to share your word count, feel free to do so in the chat or in Discord if you're in there. I'm going to go ahead and share mine in Discord. 1833. Sweet. Okay. So hopefully that was a good sprint for you guys. I saw a super chat come in. I want to grab real quick from Nathan. Thank you for the super chat. You asked, when writing in first person, how many points of view are too many? That's a really good question, and something that I've personally struggled with, because it's like, I love writing first person, and sometimes we end up like having a lot of points of view. Like the series that I'm writing with my sister has, I think at some point it has 5 points of view. Now, some of the characters don't get as many chapters as others. It has 3 main points of view, but there are occasionally 2 other characters that get a point of view, and it's all written in first person. So I would say it really depends on your story, and sometimes 5 can be too many. I say that like 3 is kind of the magic number where we don't get confused about who's talking, because we have, enough differentiation between the personalities. And that's a big thing there. Like the character voice. If the character voice is very distinct for each character, it's going to be a lot easier for your brain to transfer over from chapter to chapter and be like, okay, I'm now in this person's head. And that's really all you're trying to achieve with first person, is to feel like you're really rooted in that character's mind and how they work and how they think about life. So I would say really lean into the character voice thing, really try to nail your character voice, and then you can really do as many as you want. But I would limit it to like definitely 5 or less. Probably closer to 3 is a better number. But again, it really depends on your reader. Like I love reading first person, and there's so many books I've read that are third person that have multiple points of view, like 3 points of view, 4 points of view. And I'm like, I wish this was written in first person, because that's just my preference. So every writer is different. Every reader is different. Some writers prefer third person. Others prefer first. It's really like a preference thing. Let's see. Another super chat came in from PH Philip, I think. What is your opinion on static characters? Can they be good? I haven't actually heard that term before, but I'm assuming that static characters mean like a character who isn't doing much throughout the story. Like maybe they're a more passive, like sidelined character, or they have a flat character arc. I'm going to guess that that's what that means. And I would say that they can definitely serve a purpose for certain parts of your story where you have characters that need to fill a role or make something happen, but we're not going to go deep into their backstory or their internal conflict or anything, because we're not actually going to give them much screen time. And that's kind of how I like to think about how much I'm going to develop a character's internal conflict and how active they're going to be, is based on like how much screen time are they actually going to get, or page time, however you want to look at it. Like, are we going to actually get to know this person? And if so, then maybe we need to see a little bit of their motivation and their goal in life and their conflict. But if they're just kind of on the sidelines serving a purpose in 1 scene or 2 scenes, and they don't really, we don't really get to know them very well, then you don't have to go deep into their backstory. You don't have to figure out their internal conflict. They're there for a moment and then gone. So focusing more on the main characters, the significant characters, the active characters, and making their internal conflict shine is the most important part, for sure. Let's see. Another super chat came in from Spade Fiction Studios. How to make a non-climactic fight scene engaging? That's a good question. So I'm assuming for non-climactic, you mean like there aren't huge consequences to this fight. Maybe it's more of like a fight between two characters who don't actually want to hurt each other. They don't want to like kill each other, but they're fighting for some reason. Or maybe it's not happening at the climax of your book. So it could mean either one. But I would say making it engaging, creating some level of stakes, like making it obvious that both characters have a reason for engaging in this fight. Okay, whether it's a physical fight or it's a verbal fight, they both are approaching this from opposite perspectives and they're clashing over something. So making like this turning point and then knowing that there's going to be a crossroads moment in the middle of the scene where something pivots, something changes, and whether the fight ends badly or it ends, in a truce, or the two people get along at the end and it's not really that climactic or scary, and it ends up being that they both change their minds about something or one person changes their mind about something. Like having that crossroads moment in the middle, I think, can be really helpful, where you have two characters going into the scene with some sort of motivation, something changes through the fight maybe, and then they exit the scene with a different motivation, or they exit the scene with a new perspective on what just happened. And I think that really helps to make it seem engaging. And I know that sounds like it's not even applying to a fight scene, but it could apply to any scene. And that's what makes your writing engaging. That's what makes the story engaging, is because there's emotional stakes at play, right? It's not just what's happening, it's why it matters. So hopefully that helps. I also have a whole live training on writing fight scenes, which I highly recommend checking out. Okay, so I've talked for over 5 minutes now. I'm gonna reset the timer and we're gonna get into our next sprint, and then I'll answer some more questions in the next break. Okay, so set your timers up if you are doing that, or just follow along with mine. And we're going to set the clock up again and get into the next sprint. Okay, good luck, everyone. Okay, sprite number 2 is done. Great work, guys. Type in the chat, tell me how it went. How is your writing session going so far? Mine is going good. I think I'm really close, like 1 or 2 lines to finishing this chapter. 144. That was a good spread for me all in all. Okay, looks like you guys are having a wonderful, productive session so far. Awesome. Great job. You should be super proud of yourselves. Okay, let's try to answer as many questions as possible in this little break here. First, Between Us asked, "Hi, Abbie. I focus so much on my character's internal conflict that the external conflict is nearly invisible and everything reads too fluent. How can I balance both?" Really good question. And it's great that you're having this problem, actually, because most writers have the opposite problem, which is focusing too much on the external conflict and not enough on the internal conflict. So this is actually a good problem to have. So you should give yourself a pat on the back just for having this problem in general, because like you're doing a great job writing internal conflict if there's too much of it. So what I would recommend is leave all of the internal conflict in there already. Leave what you have. Don't feel like you have to go back and edit it yet, especially if you're not done writing the first draft. The first drafting process, you want to draft large. You want to get as much internal conflict in there as possible because you can always trim that back later. What I would ask myself as far as the external conflict is, how are the characters' decisions creating action and like affecting actual change from the external perspective? So by that, I mean like, okay, so they deal with this struggle and then they make a decision about something and they do something, and that action causes other things to happen around them. So this will be different for every story, but ask yourself, what could happen from this character's internal conflict that they can now have like this domino effect on the plot? Or if it's not them specifically influencing the plot, then how can another character throw something unexpected at them? How can the world throw something unexpected at them that they then have to deal with and face obstacles because of with their internal conflict? So this is all about balancing that equilibrium between the plot and the characters. It's going to be different for every story, but it's something good to think about. Like, how is the world going to throw things into their path? How is life going to throw things into their path that they then have to grapple with and overcome because of their internal conflict? Some good questions to contemplate during this portion of your writing process. A super chat came in from Colleen. Thank you so much for the super chat. You asked, "Do you have a writing routine that you use most every day or for NaNoWriMo? Does it change during NaNoWriMo?" Good question. So I have kind of a writing routine that I prefer to like do this every day if I can. If I can't, if there's like a deadline I need to meet or something else, some other project I need to work on, then I'm not able to do this. But every morning I try to take those first 3 to 4 hours after I wake up. Like immediately after I wake up, I make my tea, I sit down on my laptop, I open my current book project, and I take that first few hours. Maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's 3 hours. On like a really good day, it might be 4 hours. And I take that time to write. And for me, working from home, I can work my schedule around so that I can do that. I know some writers can't because they have to go to jobs or school. So you have to kind of work around your own schedule and see what time are you going to feel the most at ease. And I say at ease because that's where creativity really spawns from, right? If we're stressed out, we're thinking about our to-do list, and we're thinking about all the things we have to do, we're not going to be able to get into that headspace. And so that for me is first thing in the morning, and it doesn't really change in November, but I will spend more time probably in November writing throughout the day or giving myself more time because I'm going to be focusing really hard on a specific book and not juggling as many things. So it does sometimes change with November, but that's kind of my writing routine at this point. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. B. Reynolds asked, "I am writing about something super personal to me about a past relationship, but I don't want the details to be recognizable to that person if they read it. Any tips?" Great question. And this is definitely a tricky thing to navigate because, of course, we want to write from personal experiences. And a lot of times things that touch us emotionally, we can write about that from a really honest, authentic, raw perspective that brings a good emotional punch to our reader. But you don't want it to be too recognizable to this person in real life. So I would say just find ways to make it different, whether that's the situation or the emotions that the characters are feeling after the fact, or how they deal with the fallout of the situation. Just finding ways to sort of bring that same energy and the lesson that maybe you learned from going through this experience, like bring that into it for sure. And the struggle, the emotional struggle, but maybe rearrange the events so that it's not exactly what you went through and it's not really recognizable, because there's a lot of ways that we could like take a core emotion, like for instance, betrayal. Okay. Maybe it was betrayal in a romantic relationship and you broke up with this person, just hypothetically, and they hurt you and you felt like emotionally wrecked from that. Well, maybe in your story, it could be a friendship that gets ruined, not a romantic relationship. Or maybe it's a betrayal in a business relationship. So changing the situation so that it feels quite different, but you're still dealing with the core emotion. The character is still dealing with that core emotion that you dealt with and coming out the other side, learning a lesson from it that you learned. So there are lots of ways to do that. It's going to be different for every story. Let's see, I'll grab one more question before we dive back into our third sprint here. Let's see. KB asked how to know when to quit a novel. That's also a really good question. And I think that sometimes a book won't be working for you. You just like can't get into it. You can't get into the vibe of it, or it just doesn't feel like your cup of tea. Maybe you started it at the wrong time. Like you can absolutely put that book aside for however long you want to. And I wouldn't think of it too much as like quitting, like, oh, I quit that. But just like, if you're not feeling it right now, maybe you need a break from it. Maybe you need to put it aside. Maybe you need to work on something else. And you're still discovering yourself as a writer. You're still discovering what you love to write about and what really offers you that escapism and that creative freedom. So I would say like lovingly put it aside and work on something else if you really don't feel like you're just really not vibing with it. But if you're just struggling and you're like, I really love it, but I just feel burnt out, then maybe just take a short break and go back into it. Every writer is going to be different again. But yeah, you can always pick up something that you put aside and you're like, oh, actually that has some potential, and rewrite it someday. You never know. Renee Ross asked, super chat, thank you so much. Do you recommend releasing both books of a duology at the same time? If not, how close together should they be? I don't have a ton of like knowledge in how people release duologies normally, how authors release duologies, but it seems to be pretty much in line with how authors release series, even though there's only 2 books. A lot of times a series will be like 1 year spaced apart per installment, but of course you can do whatever you want, especially if you're self-publishing. I would say at least waiting like 6 months to a year between books, because you want to be able to really promote the heck out of that first book and get a good fan base for it and get some excitement and hype and build up for the release of the second book. So I'd say treat it just like a series. That's how I would approach it personally if I was releasing a duology. But I would also recommend looking into some other authors and how they release duologies and strategies that have worked. So doing your own research with that is definitely going to be super valuable. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, let's get into our final sprint here. Set your timers for 25 minutes. Great job to the Discord fam as well. You guys are amazing. Okay, feel free to join over there if you want for this final sprint. I know I've been talking for twice as long as I said I was going to talk. Hopefully you guys just mute me and go back to writing if you want to. Okay, so join over there if you want. And let's get into our final sprint. Okay. Good luck. Okay, great job, guys. Fantastic work. You should be so proud of yourselves for sticking with it and for showing up for your creativity. Type in the chat. Tell me how that final sprint went. I'm going to log my words here, although I just finished a chapter and started a new one. So I guess that makes it 2,506. Sweet, 362 new words. Awesome. And I feel really good about where I am in the book. So yeah, I'm excited. Okay, great job, guys. You did amazing. And I'm so glad that it was a productive session for you and that you got a lot done and we got to share this time together. Going forward, I'm going to be doing Write With Me live streams twice a month, kind of still reworking the schedule a bit. So stay tuned for that. But until then, we do writing sprints all the time in Discord and have an amazing community there of so many amazing, talented writers just like you. So definitely check that out. And you can join that by joining my Patreon at any level. The link is below this live stream. So if you want to check that out, if you love the community aspect of chatting with other writers, I think you'll love it there. So feel free to check that out. But thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the super chats, everybody. Thank you again to Sam I Am for the super chat. The super chat that just came in, still working, but we'll rewatch the video on demand for helping me write in my free time. Awesome. Yes, you can always watch these live streams after the fact and have that accountability because I'm always here with you. And even when I'm not live writing, I'm probably somewhere writing. So keep that in mind. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. And I'm really excited for the content that's coming up in the future on this channel. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed and I will see you in the next one. Until then, happy writing and rock on.